kind of a speaker tonight. Anyway, many of you are involved in Skywarn, I know, and I'm sorry to see that Steve Kramer left. I'm understanding maybe some of his the pictures tonight may be of his house from the Minneapolis tornado, but sorry you're not able to see them. We'll have to do this. Certainly. There's a T-shirt out that says, "Move to the basement, storm shelter, or center of your home while I go out to play." Now, those of you involved with Skywarn understand that T-shirt. Now, as an amateur, many of you know how things work, and you take a class every 2 years. You go out, talk on your radio, and you talk to one of 3 hubs. Okay, where does that information go from there? Our guest tonight will kind of explain that. And as you know, this year was kind of a busy year for us. Many people don't realize that Minnesota actually had more tornadoes than any other state, last I heard. Kansas was trying to catch up. Our 2 speakers tonight, Todd Krause is the warning coordination meteorologist at the Chanhassen Weather Office. I graduated from Bethel College here in the Twin Cities with a degree in math and physics. Then he traveled to South Dakota. We won't hold that against him, but he got his MS degree over there from the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology. Now, Todd found out that you can't spot tornadoes from inside mines, so he switched to meteorology and began his career in Huron in 1985, doing an internship there. Then he moved down to Tornado Alley down in Wichita before coming to the Chanhassen office in 1989. Some say that tornadoes like to follow Todd, and I guess the Tornado Alley moved up here with him. He's been in his current position since 1994, and his call sign KB0SPH. He resides in Fridley, correct?
SGH.
So close.
So close.
See, I can mess up John's here. K0WDJ.
Yes, sir.
And his wife Jamie reside in Maple Grove. John's the Skywarn coordinator for the National Weather Service office in Chanhassen. John's known for bringing state-of-the-art to our training. People have taken the training over the last few years have seen the development of our step-by-step spotter program, and that's become kind of one of the nation leaders in Skywarn training. He's an avid storm chaser. He's one of those guys that actually gets really close to tornadoes for some reason. Many of the photos and videos that we see in classes are from his cameras. So he also coordinates the amateur radio operations at the Chanhassen office. There's a radio group out there, as we have in our hubs. And he'll talk about that. He attended St. Cloud State University, and he's also known for his studies in radar interpretation and pre-storm parameters. So John also enjoys working in the IT field. And if that isn't enough, he's also the official host and coordinator for the annual Skywarn conference. And I'm sure he'll be happy to share any information on that. With that, I turn it over to Todd and John.
All right. Excuse me. Oh, oh no.
That was a really nice camera.
Boy, I didn't realize there was a camera under here. Oh, it is.
Oh, that's happy.
Is that yours? Oh, how's that for starting things out as a speaker?
Looks okay. Looks good.
Anyway, thank you very much. I'll be holding my breath to make sure that it still works. But anyway, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here. I appreciate, Mike, your working with Mike to offer this as a presentation available to your meeting. We really appreciate it. As was mentioned, my call is a call that I got back in 1995, and I started out not having a clue about amateur radio really until 1994. Had no idea really what it was at all. When I started in Huron, South Dakota, there was during our severe weather, there was nobody involved in amateur radio who would come into the office. When I moved down to Wichita, Kansas, once in a while I'd see a guy, a volunteer from the area, walk in with a handheld, and I had no clue what that was all about. And then at the Twin Cities office, when I came up in 1989, in the radar room there was one ICOM radio, and I would see it being used maybe once in a great while, and someone from across the street that worked for a company called Kavoris would often come in and work that radio. But again, I really didn't know all that much until about 93 or 94, when the people that kind of started the Metro Skywarn, kind of the forerunner, I suppose, of Metro Skywarn, it was called that, I believe, at the time. But you'd have people such as Tom Nelson, Bob Adams, Scott Bohm, Dave Floyd. There were several who would just take this on as a volunteer. They do kind of a midday update, and then they would do a lot of the training in the late 80s and early 90s. Well, Tom moved off to Mankato and then eventually Colorado. Scott and Bob took over, and Dave. They, went very, very fast and furiously for about a year or so, and then they were getting to the point where they couldn't really take any more, so to speak, just because of such a intense volunteer effort on their part. All of a sudden, we were left, I think it was the spring of 94, maybe spring of 93, one of those two, with nobody willing to kind of start up Metro Skywarn or do the training. So I wound up standing in and doing some of the classes around the Metro that particular spring. Others chimed in. All of a sudden we had a group of about 6 or 8 people that wanted to help out. And we put out the call to people and say, hey, we need some help. And I remember any number of people. And so we'd go around these committee rooms. This was before Metro Skywarn became, quote, a nonprofit corporation. They'd go around the room with their call signs and say, I'm Dave Johnson, N0KBD, I'm Bill Hughes, and so on. And when they got to me, all I could say is, well, I'm Todd Krause and KEC 65. And so after a while it became more and more intriguing what amateur radio was all about. So went through class down in Bloomington, got the license back in 95, and so it's been a real treat to work with any number of people through amateur radio. Not just Metro Skywarn here in the Twin Cities, but other groups. Tim has been involved quite a bit over the years, and so it's good to see, and Mike, so it's good to see some familiar faces. And then we work with some of the amateur radio groups elsewhere, and John will be pointing that out as well. So anyway, with that, I think I will actually get to the program itself. Finally unveil things, and I might need to focus that just a little bit better. Or maybe it's my glasses.